Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sander Lanch podcast. Today, we are discussing Oathbringer, Book 3 of the Stormlight Archive, and we read chapters 104 through 107, wherein we get a Navani perspective of her needing to kind of take charge of things while Dalinar is, let's call it recuperating. So, at least we didn't just get one Navani perspective this part either. Dac was worried about that.
Yeah.
Then we get a Dalinar flashback to the day of Gavilar's funeral. We get a Seth chapter, which I feel like is more teased than anything else. And then finally we get a Dalinar chapter as he sort of has a good day? Question mark. But in any case, I'm Data, and with me today is
Jamie
And Dac.
No Joe. He's taking the family to Disneyland this weekend, so can't really fault him for having that kind of fun. I would be there if I could instead of here. So, what can you do? Hang on to something, everybody. The Sander Lanch is about to begin.
Yearnings intertwined, the golden age in ashes once again. Under stirring stars, in the burning shards, kindle fragments of the fallen rain. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn. Stronger together now.
So 4 chapters this week, and I think this is the last time this book that we'll read that number of chapters. We do 6 one time, but other than that, the chapters are going to start getting longer as we reach the end of the book, and so we're going to start reading fewer and fewer. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
Yeah, these were good chapters. It definitely feels like things are starting to happen. I wouldn't say fall into place because some things are, people's plans are complete chaos, and some people's having, light bulb moments and things like that. But it was pretty good. I always really like a Navani perspective. Honestly, I really enjoy being in her brain. And she knows exactly what's going on in the room and then thinking about things on levels that people aren't even themselves thinking about. And just her perspective on everything that's going on with Dalinar and like that real moment that's like, what, she's been forced to stand up here and do all of this when she's grieving. She's feeling her own things too. Dalinar's gone off, and look, yes, Dalinar is going through a lot. No one's taking that away. But Navani just has to hold it together. And it's a real one of those things, like in any relationship, one person is allowed to drop the ball, the other one just has to pick it up. And as long as you've got a balance of that between you, I think that's a good thing. But I really enjoyed reading it from Navani's perspective. How she's going through so much, watching Dalinar suffer and what he's going through and how she shows up for him every day and then how she shows up for him in that group setting and just isn't going to take anyone's crap on it either. It's like, we all know what's going on here. We're just going to accept that we all know it. We're going to move on and do something productive with our time. And she's really cool. I really, really like her. So that was really good to read in there. Flashbacks at Gavilar's funeral. I don't think I've actually ever put together that, like, he would just be soul cast into stone. Like, that's actually Gavilar in stone. That would be a lot to go through. I mean, no one likes a funeral. And now to see them as stone and not happen, yeah, cool. I'm kind of a Dalinar. I don't need to be there for that. That's a lot. But the end of that chapter with him and Yasna, I thought was a really nice moment. They've always seemed to have this bond between them. Like there's a bit of a kindred spirit thing between them, and I thought that moment was really quite something for them, and that was lovely as well. Zeph and Nin, yeah, cool. Nin's a radiant as well. I want to know more about that. I want just a story of him and his backstory. Like, I know we know bits and pieces, but I just want his story. That was like those conversations with him one-on-one. We introduced to him just being this absolute, I'm going to hunt down all the radiants and that's it. And the was it the desolation? No, the Everstorm desolation.
Well, I'm not sure what the rest of that sentence is going to be, so I can't answer that.
he was preventing something from happening.
Yes, the desolation. Yeah.
The desolation. This isn't going to happen. No, we're going to prevent it. We're going to prevent it. Oh, wait, it's already here. I just want more of his story, definitely. And Seth, it being like a whole new version of the Skybreakers. I want more of this story. I'm so curious now to where that's going to go. I've got no idea what's going to happen there, but that was really, really cool. And our last chapter, I actually really enjoyed the Taravangian stuff. They were really hammering on how old he is and how frail he is. And I feel like this has happened really fast. We spent so much time on his cognitive ability. I didn't even think about his physical state. Like, yeah, sure, he's getting older, but I don't know why. I never really thought about how much he would be struggling. And then now he is, and having less intelligent days, you just kind of think Taravangian's going to be one of these characters that's just around forever. I was like, oh no, he's actually an old man. He might. Okay, this is a new way of framing this for me, and I don't know if I've just missed something crazy there, or if it just felt really heavy in this particular chapter. But yeah, like imagine if you take him out, and then we've got this whole, group of people that are devoted to seeing the diagram through. Man, this is some scary stuff that could unfold here. And Malata, yeah, she's scary too. There's just a lot more, I think, like you said, a lot more teaser for what's to come in the rest of the book and possibly future books. So I'm here for it. It feels like things are ramping up, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, to your last point, actually, to your very last point, I agree. Malata is kind of scary. I'm almost glad that she's got somebody reining her in when she seems to literally, from her section, just want to watch the world burn. Her and her friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But to the point before that, Taravangian, especially when he's on a smart day, he just seems so like confident and in control that it really is easy to forget that no, apparently he's really old and like seemingly in this chapter at least really frail. So it's
but still
conundrum.
ruthless. Like, even on a frail day, that very end bit, it's like, well, it's a shame, Dalinar still has to suffer. Like, we still have to go ahead with this. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
You're not feeling that bad about it.
Yeah, that's some dedication to whatever it is that he thinks he's doing here. I mean, saving the world, supposedly, but...
Yeah. Also, all the bad things for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, man.
Also, what you said about wanting, like, Nin/Nail, whatever you want to call him, his story, I so agree with that, but in a way, it's like, all of the Heralds, I want their story, because they've been around for, like, thousands of years now. And so there's a lot of story there, presumably.
Yep.
He could have his own book, and you probably wouldn't cover it all.
Yeah.
I also agree with the first thing you said, that I really enjoy being in Navani's brain, in her perspectives. I like the way that she thinks about things, and how on top of stuff she is. I really like her as a character, so it's fun to be in her head.
I just love this. She doesn't want to be, she absolutely does not want to be the one in charge, but she'll make it happen. She'll facilitate it all. And I can agree with that. That's good.
And I love the way you put it about their relationship when you're like, one person can drop the ball and the other person picks it up. And as long as you're balancing that, it's not always one person having to pick up after the other person, then like that's a good relationship, because we can't all be perfectly on the ball all the time, right? Like that's why you have somebody else with you to help when you fall short.
Yep, definitely. So Navani definitely gets a turn at the breakdown at some point.
Right? Yeah, especially since she doesn't know it for sure yet, but she just lost her son, so
yeah.
But yeah, I think really insightful bit there. So thank you for that.
I mean, we saw what Navani was like when she thought she lost her daughter. What's it going to be like when she turns out she's definitely lost her son? These chapters were really good. We didn't see any of the crew in Shadesmar, so that was kind of okay, we're on a bit of a cliffhanger there, sort of. But the information we got, I really liked. I also love seeing inside Navani's head. She feels her perspective feels, I don't know, maybe just more unique than the others, because I feel like between the other characters, they're all either military men or Radiants, and so they're You know, they've got all got a perspective focused on that, whereas Navani is not that. She's all about discovery and creating things with Fabrials. So her thought process is different, and so she stands out a bit more. So I like reading her perspectives there. We got some nice one-on-one between her and Yasna, which was really cool. Yeah, and then in the flashback chapter of Gavilar's funeral, again, we got some Dalinar and Yasna one-on-one. So it's like we're finally getting some more Yasna with other people as a person and not just focused on the goal. So that was really nice. Like I appreciate those moments. I think Yasna is a fascinating character, but we don't see, and we just haven't gotten as much of her relationships with characters who aren't Shallan. So it's been good to see that. Seth's chapter, I mean, you know, I love Seth. I'm always happy to see his name. I'm surprised at how much Seth we've gotten this late in the game. I'm not complaining, but I'm just like, all of a sudden, it's been a lot of Seth. So that's been interesting. This is really the first time we've seen Nail properly since the end of Edge Dancer, and I'm just like, I cannot imagine not reading Edge Dancer between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, because you know we saw Nail like quite a bit in Words of Radiance, and now we see him here, and it's like this is very different to how he is, and so you need Edge Dancer for that context. He kind of talks about it here, but it would be a very jarring shift if we hadn't seen the moment where it changed. So good to see more of Nail, and he seems like he's prepared to, at least with Seth, talk to him about stuff. He's like, yeah, went and saw one of the other heralds. Shit's not going the way I thought, so I'm going to tell you my story. And I'm like, you know what? For everything else Nail does, he knows how to communicate, and that's something we have been on these people for across the entire Cosmere, really. It's like, people, fucking communicate. You know what?
Yep.
Nail's doing that. Props to you. Oh, where was I going with that? And yeah, Taravangian. I was a bit just like, of course, the evil Shardbearer is the one who makes fire. Because fire is always the evil power, except the Fantastic Four, I guess. I don't know. I'm just a bit, man. Fire's always the evil one. Why is it always fire that's the evil one? So, but like, she still seems like an interesting character, and I want to know more about her. But as soon as they said, "Oh yeah, she makes fire," I'm like, "Of fucking course she does." Okay.
It's
But yeah.
just so destructive, you know?
Fire allows rebirth. That's why the Phoenix is a thing.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah. Yeah, and then book 3 was like dedicated showing, you know, it's not all the Fire Nation, right?
It's not so bad.
Yeah. And yeah, Taravangian, I like Jamie's idea. It's like, you know what, this dude like is old. He might just pop his clogs in the middle of everything else, and then his cult is just like, well, shit, what the fuck do we do now? We can't read the diagram. Graves tried, and look how well that went. I did appreciate the notes. Like, yeah, we found Graves. Oh, no one cared about him anyway. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't work out for him. Oh well, guess he was wrong.
Yep. Fuck that guy. But yeah, no, it's like this was an interesting Taravangian chapter because he wasn't at the top of his game, but he wasn't all. I guess it was close to when he went to Yakaved, but he didn't seem quite as scheming. He was just more kind of in admin mode this time around. So yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting when you get a look inside your head because you don't know which Taravangian you're going to get. So that was fun.
True. I like what you said about like not having read Edge Dancer, mostly because I cannot count the number of times I've seen people on Reddit or other places be like, I just finished Words of Radiance. Do I really need to read Edge Dancer before I go on to Oathbringer? Like, and the answer is pretty much always, well, you don't like have to, but you probably want to.
Yep. Yeah. Grand scheme of things, you could read it because I mean, you know, it's Lift's story. She at the start of it, she's leaving.
Azir,
that's the one. And then at the end, she comes back. So grand scheme of things, like she just does a circle and goes back to where she started. But yeah, Nail has some pretty big character development in that story, which is reflected here. So
people have like an idea that well, that's not a book. It's not one of the books, so it's not really important, right? And
yeah, and I've had the same. Like there have been times I'm just like, no, I'm reading the Dresden Files. Do I need to read the short stories that go between? And like initially maybe not, but then at least by the time you get to Peace Talks, if you haven't read them, you're going to be lost.
That's the one that always jumps to my mind because up to Probably up to before Peace Talks. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about the fact that once you hit Peace Talks and like a Bigfoot is a major character, you're like, if you didn't read the stories, you're like, wait, what? But there's so many of them, of the short stories there, and they're all, for the most part, they're just referenced sort of subtly in the main stories. It's like, hey, remember the time that happened? Well, here we go. Like,
Yeah, it's very just like if you reading the main books, I'm just like I don't quite get what that means. It's in the short story, but it doesn't really affect the story that you're reading at the time, which is fine. But yeah, then you get to Peace Talks, and it's like, who the fuck are all these people? Why does Harry have history with them?
who was that guy's head that got ripped off? Oh, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like Brandon has, I would say definitely fewer and longer of these shorts. They're more novellas than short stories for the most part.
Yeah.
But they really do seem kind of important.
Yeah, and like not knowing how this book ends, I was like, okay, grand scheme of things, you probably could read this book and the nail stuff without having read Edge Dancer. It would just be jarring to just a bit, because he does explain it. He says, yeah, I got freaked out by this shit. I went to go see Ishar, and it was just, man, it was a time. I was like, he does tell you everything you need, but it just seems such a jarring shift, especially because like we really only met him when he was sort of building up to what he was doing in Words of Radiance, and it's like that was like the start of our perspective of him. It's like, oh, what's this guy gonna do? And then like the next time we see him, he's done an about face, and it's like, well, we barely got you when you were before face.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's a matter of, I think Edge Dancer, especially the scene at the end with Lift, makes him much more of a three-dimensional character than the two-dimensional guy that we've seen other times. And so, like, you kind of start feeling for him when he breaks down at the end of Edge Dancer. And without that, it's just like, oh, it's this, like, he's just a two-dimensional character who pops up and has these determinations, I feel like. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes a big difference for me, at least. Maybe not everybody has the same experience, but, you know. I also noted that you had a good point about we get so little of Yasna, especially the relationships that Yasna has outside of Shallan. And so it was really nice. The Navani Yasna scene, that's a relationship, like this mother-daughter thing that we've seen very little of, and is really interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the same with Dalinar and Yasna. We're told almost from the beginning of Way of Kings, when we first meet Dalinar, that Yasna is one of the people that he trusts, like, unreservedly, basically. But we don't see much of them together.
Well, and I was sort of wondering, it's like, is that really where this Gavilar's funeral, is that where this started? Because now that we've read all these Dalinar flashbacks, it's like, oh, so he knows Yasna, like, because, you know, obviously that's his niece. But I don't know, I got the impression it's like, this could be the first time these two have sat down and had a conversation, just the two of them, and they're just grieving together. So this could be where the start of that relationship really came to the fore.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. Because, the previous Dalinar doesn't seem like the kind of person Yasna would get along with well.
No.
And by the time we meet them both in Way of Kings, like, she has a real respect for her uncle, in addition to him trusting her. So, yeah, this might be the start of that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess let's get into these chapters. You know, we get a couple more interesting details about the Unmade from the epigraphs here. The first one is
the epigraphs this time were just like, all right, here's your fucking info. You've been asking for it. So I'm like, we're coming up on the end of this part, aren't we? Because we are just getting all the exposition.
They're telling us things. Oh my gosh. The first one is about Ashert Marn, the Heart of Revel, who we have met. And
as much as he can, considering he's mindless.
Yeah. Like, the final of the three great mindless Unmade. So, yeah.
So he's just like the Unmade's... Oh, who was the gargoyle that was kind of the dog?
Oh,
was that Bronx?
I was about to say, I was going to say Bronx also.
I think that was Bronx, yeah. So Ashert Marn he's just the Bronx of the Unmade.
Yes, that was Bronx. I started to say Brooklyn. I'm like, no, Brooklyn's that other one. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Although then we got two other mindless Unmade, but...
Yeah, but this is the important one because he's the one we've met, like you said.
That's true. I mean, we've seen the effects of the other two. And honestly, overall, they may have had more of an impact on the story so far.
Yeah, I guess.
His gift is not prophecy or battle focus, but a lust for indulgence. Indeed, the great debauchery recorded in the court of Bayala in 480, which led to the dynastic collapse, might be attributed to that. So he's just knocking down dynasties as he passes along.
Like, I just hear the professor in my head. It's like something with that many big words must be important.
I feel like someone needs to go back and read those accounts because that might help them now.
Right? When you said the professor, the only thing that popped in my head was like, this mummy's teriyaki style.
I mean, that's probably what someone under Ashitman's influence would say.
Maybe, yeah. So this is a Navani chapter, and basically Navani is trying real hard to hold things together while Dalinar is out of commission. And we find out, like, it starts out with, this is not the first time she's had to do this. During Gavazlar's last days, he'd gotten kind of weird. Few knew how dark he'd grown. And so she had to kind of take the reins then, it seems like, and now she's having to do it for Dalinar. These brothers are just, geez.
It's like, this feels like an ominous hint. Like I don't know, but like I'm just going to throw a random guess out here. One of these days, for one of these books, Gavilar will be the flashback character.
I could see that. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my spot thinking about that. Like, what would Gavilar flashbacks look like? That could be interesting.
Mm.
But she is talking to, I guess, kind of the top people in Alethkar right now, one of whom is Sabarial, possibly, sadly. He's
Definitely for her.
He's flipping through a deck of cards bearing the pictures of women in compromising positions, whatever that means in this context.
Not
like,
safe for work, man.
Do they
Don't
have their safe hands out, or like what's going on?
This one's flipping me off with her safe hand.
And Aladar is here too. Aladar is one of their top dudes ever since he joined Dalinar when they marched for the center of the plains.
Like, Aladar really came around. I might have said this before, but it's like, goddamn, he went from like a Sadius lackey to just be like, fucking Dalinar, ride or die. Like,
yeah,
power to you, Aladar. You stuck to your principles. Ray Fiennes would be proud.
You can stay.
In contrast to the other one, the other one we see in this chapter, who is still a Sadius like lackey, even though it's Ili Sadius now, but we'll get there.
Mm.
And she's got some Bridge 4 guys looking out for her. And she shows up to this meeting. He's like, okay, hey, you guys asked me to come, so I'm here. What can I do for you? And basically, they've got issues, and they want assurances. Also, we find out Sabarial's actual first name. We've heard his mistress call him Turi before, but apparently his name is Turinad, which, all right.
That's not symmetrical at all.
No, not even a little bit. And I love that, like, he makes some comment about Dalinar getting drunk, and Navani's be like, hey, that's enough. And then he's like, oh, sorry. And he actually puts the cards away. Like,
Also,
Sabarial has changed some.
Also, like, of all the Bright Lords to complain about something a bit hedonistic, Sabarial, that ain't you.
That's a good point. Like, who's talking?
Mr. Massage Chair over here is having a go at other people for their indulgences. Get the fuck out.
And the first thing they talk about is we're going to put the whole High King thing that Elhokar had signed on. Let's keep that on the down low. If Elhokar doesn't come back, then, you know, maybe this isn't something that we should even mess with. But there's other problems. The plumbing in the tower is a problem. The soulcasters are exhausted dealing with the waste of all these people. We can't grow enough. We can't grow food up here, and we don't have enough emeralds to keep making it. So basically, we're running low on lumber too. Basically, we cannot continue as we are. This tower life is not sustainable the way that we are going.
To throw other problems in the works for you guys. Like, not only are you trying to save your entire planet, plumbing's a problem. You better get on that.
And I actually kind of really like that detail of it, because it's like, in some stories you wouldn't have that. You're just like, hey, we found this cool mountain hideaway where we can resist the enemy and everything is perfect. But here it's like, no, all of this like little but very real stuff is a problem that we need to deal with.
Yeah, it didn't actually solve all our problems coming to this tower city, but, you know, not everything is rosy.
Yeah, no joke. Not much is rosy at this point.
Even to the detail, I was like, yeah, look, we can get lumber from the Shattered Plains, but like one of the Bright Lords who's still hanging around there is like making it his kingdom now, so he might not let us do that. I'm like, God damn it!
Even when the world is ending, everyone's still out for themselves. Ugh.
Checks
I'm just
out.
like, everyone else moved off the Shattered Plains. The Parshendi aren't there anymore, and this one Bright Lord's like, well, fuck it, I ain't going nowhere.
It so does check out, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could go down a rabbit hole there. We're not going to. We'll move forward. And then I like the part where Sabariel is the one who's like, hey, be straight with us, Navani. Is this all like Dalinar's secret plan to rule the world? And she's like, oh my gosh, even like our closest allies are worried about this. No, that is not the plan. We're not trying to rule the world, damn it. And this is where Aladar pops in. He's like, I believe you, and I believe in him. I believe in Harvey Dent. That's not a good. That's not.
That is a terrible comparison.
And after that meeting, she's got other things she's got to go and do. And I love that on the way she stops to be like, "Hey, bridgeman bodyguards, I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry that this all must be really boring for you." And they're like, boring's great. Hey, Hobber, anyone try to kill you in that meeting?" And Hobber's like, "Does Huio's breath count?" It's like, see?
You can tell these guys are beyond like trying to prove themselves. They're just like, no, this is fine. We will. You know where I've been, right? This is nice. It's like a cup of tea in the afternoon.
Yep. But we also get the little note that Teft was recently hauled before the magistrate for public intoxication on fire moss. So that's not great.
Damn it, Teft. Also, I like the little note here. Navani knows their names. Like, anytime you go to Adlin's perspective, he doesn't seem to know their names. Dalinar might know a couple, but he just sort of refers to them by description. Navani knows who these dudes are.
I mean, Adolin definitely knows, like, Bar and Dre. He was talking about how he went out drinking with them and stuff, and that when Cal was like, "Wait, what? You guys hang out?"
Yeah, but like every other Adolin chapter is like when it talks like the bulk of the Bridgefall people, he's like, that one, and then that one. It's like he likes them and he respects them, but he doesn't seem to know their names sometimes.
Yeah.
Which, they're a decently large group. That's fair enough. Like remembering all the names could be tricky.
Yeah, I would be terrible at that. I'm not good with remembering names. I guess Navani, you're right. She seems to know all the people.
Yeah.
That's a good talent to have in her position.
Yeah.
And so she heads down to the basement where where the gemstone pillar and all the drawers filled with gems were to talk to Yasna and see what the scholars are getting on to. And Renarin's down here too. And she sees the bridgeman like go, and they're kind of like, making fun of Renarin, but in like this playful way, and he's laughing, and she's like, "Holy crap, when's the last time I saw him laugh? Like, this is great."
This is very someone is studying for a test in the library and all their mates rock up to the library and it's like, "Hey, we just thought we'd come and give you a break."
I don't think I've ever had that experience. So.
No, neither have I, but it's just the image that popped into my head.
And she says, maybe we should encourage Renarin to take a break, go out with the bridgeman for an evening. And Yasna's like, no, I want to keep him here. His powers need additional study, which is very specific. And then they have a fun conversation where like Yasna starts lecturing about the importance of history. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm being lectured by my own daughter. And then Yasna actually in the end apologizes. She's like, I'm sorry, I've been working with a lot of like lesser ardents. My didactic side might have inflated. You have a didactic side? Dear, you hate teaching. She's like, yeah, which explains my mood. Oh my. Although I agree with her. History is important to human understanding. Can't ignore that.
Yep, absolutely.
The best indication of what human beings will do is not what they think, but what the records say similar groups have done in the past, which is basically the basis for like statistics. Is you see what groups of people do, and then you can use that to extrapolate. And then Yasna walks off for a minute, and Navani looks at the paper she's working on, and it's about Renarin and how he was writing like the glyphs on the walls back in the last book. And also, they've gotten a look at a spren, the radiant that Lift found in Yeddaw, visited Azamir, and they've got a sketch of her spren companion, which looks like the shimmer you see on a wall when you shine light through a crystal, which is a description we've heard before, actually, in a conversation with Yasna about sprens. So
that was specific, like the one glimpse she got of Renarin's spren, wasn't it?
That's what I thought.
No, it was actually she didn't see Renarin Spren. She was talking to one of her correspondents, and that correspondent had a description of what Renarin Spren should look like, essentially.
Okay.
And Yasna was curious because she wanted to get a look at it. So that's how it came in. And so apparently the lady in Yedda is the same radiant order as Renarin, which shouldn't have been hard for us to figure out because only 2 of them can heal, and she wasn't the same as Lift, so she got to be the same as Renarin. But a truth watcher. And she's troubled by what she's got here. Like, why is Yasna collecting all this stuff about Renarin? Or related to Renarin? I don't quite understand. But in the end of the chapter, she just goes out to check on Dalinar. So I don't know. Any theories about why is Yasna collecting this information related to Renarin?
I just thought she wanted to have a look at his Spren and like learn more about that. She's, she researches, she learns, she wants to see that. I thought she might have been a bit suspicious of some of his activities, maybe just not understanding, why he wants to be in this space so much. But, I don't think anyone really looks at Renarin like he's got an ulterior motive. I would be surprised if he did. So I'd say she's just probably wanting to learn more about his Spren and get all that information together.
We don't know him that deeply, but I agree that he doesn't feel like a guy with an ulterior motive. And I mean, and the kid that we saw in that Dalinar flashback with his dad, like, that doesn't feel like a kid with an ulterior motive. So, but I mean, that was years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to throw something else in the works, though, what we just learnt, that not all of the Spren are on the same side, where we're assuming that all the Radiants coming together would be a good thing. But, we've now got Malada and her, is it Spark, that are clearly not happy to be bundled in with the same lot. We don't have, I'm not sure if we've ever had a Renarin perspective. Maybe we have one.
I don't recall offhand. Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure we haven't.
Yeah, and so maybe this order of Spren is also not particularly happy to be involved. We don't know. Yeah, we really don't know much about it. It could be anything.
Yeah, all we really know is there's at least 2 of them out there now because his and then the Stump was her name. She has, but I like the point that you made about Yasna, because it would just be Yasna's style to want to categorize and get all the descriptions and learn about the ins and outs of each one, right? That feels like
and I don't think it would be beyond her to be like, no, he needs to stay until I get what I need.
I want experimentation. He must stay.
You will show me your Spren, and then you can go.
It's actually kind of, it reminds me of when, was it Sigzil? Yeah, it was Sigzil who was like, Kaladin, we need to you said I could like measure your powers and we're gonna like take notes and figure out exactly what you can do. Maybe Sigzil and Yasna would get along.
Maybe.
Okay, Spirit, Mind, and Body is a 6 years ago Dalinar flashback, and they are watching the king be interned is the word. We've been told before that like important light eyes get turned into stone after they die, because it was one of the, when they used to have to go in the chasms and like scavenge stuff, it was like if an important light eyes died, they would often send like a party to try to find his body so they could turn it to stone. But most people just get abandoned down there if they die and fall in. But that is what's happening here. After a sort of funeral ceremony, they turn Gavilar into stone. They've replaced his eyes with gems. So I guess he has sparkly eyes when he's stone, but that feels disturbing to me. The before he gets turned to stone, looking at the body with like gemstones in place of eyes, but whatever. And Dalinar's, having a bit of a problem because his brother has died and he's at the funeral. It's not, no one's going to be happy in that situation, probably.
Plus, he's already going through a hell of a lot over the last couple of years.
And we get a bit more about your belief in the afterlife. The Ardent is like, there's 3 parts of us: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. The physical dies here when we're dead. The spiritual goes off and into, what exactly did they say? Because I feel like we've never gotten that much detail before now on how that works. But spirit, mind, and body. The spirit rejoins the pool of divine essence that gave it birth, and the mind goes to the Tranquiline Halls to find its reward. So a little touch on like the three realms in the Cosmere, the physical, the mental, or the cognitive and the spiritual. They have their own outlook on it, but they still have that framework. His mind's going to the Tranquiline Halls, where he's already leading men in battle against the Voidbringers. And there's the note that like Sabario glances over at Dalinar and raises his eyebrows, like, "Hey, you gonna?" And Dalinar's like, "I'm not drunk, idiot. I'm not gonna make a scene to amuse you." And he feels like he's actually been handling the drinking pretty well lately. He takes some vacations every month and uses the vacations to get wasted out of his mind. And then when he comes back, it's all good.
That's healthy.
Oh, yeah, totally healthy. And he'd never again yelled at his sons. So there you go.
It's healthier than what he was doing, I guess.
Yeah, fair. And there's the moment where he interrupts to ask the Ardent, like, okay, but what happens after the war for the Tranquiline Halls? When we win, what happens then? And he thinks, is that when we finally get to rest? And the Ardent reads it completely wrong. It's like, oh, don't worry. Once you win that war, I'm sure the Almighty will come up with new conquests for you.
God
It's
damn it.
so noble to keep battling and battling and battling. Like that's the bloodthirsty Blackthorn. That's all he wants.
Yeah, old Dalinar might have loved that. That's a good point.
Mm.
And then there's the Ketek written by Navani, which I think this may be one of the first times where I actually get like this Ketek poetry, where it's the same backward and forward more or less, but it's the message is composed in a way that it's not saying the same. It's the same words, but conveying different meanings. And I thought this one was really well done.
Yeah, I liked it.
Dalinar also thought that. He's like, oh, that poem slapped him harder than the others. They turn Gavilar to stone. I also like the note that they have like wires on the corpse to get it into just the position that they want to make the statue of, with it like his arm stretched out and he's holding a sword that's pointing towards the ground. And so when the funeral starts, at least me, I'm picturing it like one of our funerals where maybe the body is laying there in a very dignified sort of position. And then at this point you find out actually it's like wired up to be in a certain pose so that when they turn it to stone, they can prop it up and it looks good, which is kind of ghoulish to me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We live in a culture without these magic powers, so.
Yeah. It affects everything. That's kind of the idea behind the Mistborn specifically, where you see the evolution of society over hundreds of years and how the magic affects everything.
Yeah.
And then once the official stuff is over, Elhokar stands up and he's like, we're going to get vengeance. I want each of you, like high princes here, to swear publicly. We'll all go together and hunt down the ones who did this. And Sadeas is the first one up. Like, I swear, you have my sword. And then someone else is like, and my axe. But Dalinar just turns and walks away, which I feel like probably looks bad in the middle of this, but he doesn't seem to be worried about it.
It's his brother. Like maybe they can give him the he's grieving card.
And Adolin runs after him. He's like, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need something?" And he's like, "No, I need to be alone for a little bit. Go back, swear for our house to this vengeance pact." And Adolin's like, "All right." And he's going back to his quarters, and he's like, "I need alcohol. I got to get out of here. I need to drink myself into a stupor so I don't have to deal with this right now." And he can't figure out which key opens his door, and he's sort of like losing it. And then he hears somebody, "You must find the most important words a man can say." And it goes on. I won't read the whole things, but some of it should sound familiar to us because we've heard some of these quotes before.
Yeah, Dalinar's just listening to the audiobook.
I mean, that's what good Vorin men always do.
Yep. Well, he listens to it in one sitting.
He does. That's what makes the first time. This is the first time that I'm like, these must not be very long books, because a long book, even on audiobook, it takes a while to get through. But we don't know how many hours he spent there, so maybe. But yeah, he follows the sound, and it is Yasna reading aloud from. I don't know that they ever actually say what the book is. We know from the context what the book is. It's The Way of Kings. But he goes in and he's like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh, it's like an old book. Once it was well regarded, but it's associated with the Radiance, so nobody really references it anymore. But this is where those words came from. The ones that Dalinar thinks, the ones Gavilar wrote as he died. Only a few knew about that. We know that Seth did that, but And he asks,
Seth was just taking dictation.
that's true, yeah. He did it as a favor to the guy
was-
he just murdered.
Yeah, it was still Gavilar's words. It just wasn't necessarily his writing.
And so Dalinar sits there and asks her to start again. She's on the first page, basically. And the two of them just sit there and she reads through the entire book. It says people came to check on them. Some brought Yasna some water, but they leave them alone and they go through the whole thing. And he's like, he doesn't feel like he understands a lot of the message that's here, but it speaks to him in like a really deep way. Oh, I'm sorry. It does say how long. It took 8 hours to finish. I'm curious now. Hold on.
So, like the equivalent of binging the entire first season of Stranger Things in one sitting.
So let's see. According to Google AI, which who knows how trustworthy that is,
Blech.
an 8-hour audiobook is about 240 to 320 pages. So a moderate length of book.
Mm.
Not by Brandon standards, but
That's no Richard.
Who can be Richard, really?
Yeah.
And Dalinar finds himself like weeping by the end. And even after Yasna's done and she walks away, he just stands there and like they hug, which I feel like is a very sweet moment. They're both mourning together for her father, his brother. And then he just walks over and like touches the book and just stands there. And it says he doesn't know how long he's been standing there when Adolin shows up. And Adolin's like, hey, we're going to send an expeditionary force to the Shattered Plains. We'd like your input. And Dalinar's like, I got to go somewhere. And Adolin's like, yeah, I mean, it's a long way, I know. And Dalinar's like, no, I'm going to go first. He also takes a moment. I've been a poor father to you and your brother both. You should know how proud I am of you. Which is such a big thing to Adolin that like glory spring up. Like this is not something he's heard from his father his entire life almost. And Dalinar says, we will go to war together like we did when you were young, and I will show you what it is to be a man of honor. But first, I'm going to take an advanced force without you and go to the Shattered Plains. And Dalinar's like, yeah, Adolin's like, yeah, we talked about that. Like you and your elites used to do, fast and quick. And Dalinar says, I'm going to sail. And after he explains it, Adolin's like, okay, I guess that sounds good. But Dalinar has a plan. He's going to take a bunch of ships, and it won't look at all weird, because people know Dalinar gets himself into trouble, when Dalinar and one of his ships remain in port while the others go on ahead. Evie had said the old magic could transform a man. It was time he started trusting her. So we see the moment he decides he's going to go find the Night Watcher.
We don't know where the Night Watcher lives, do we?
We do. We've talked about that. It is a place called the Valley.
Oh, it was the Valley? Okay, yes, that's right. It is right next to Uthira on the map.
On the map, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I remember we talked about it. I couldn't remember if we actually discerned the location.
Yeah, it was real close to Urithiru, but then again, Urithiru is the top of like the tallest mountain, and the valley is presumably a valley. So who knows how quick it is to get from one to another?
Yeah, but yeah. So like looking at the map, it's kind of okay. I got to go completely the other direction before I can get back to the Shattered Plains. So
yeah, it is the complete opposite direction. I'm like, so no one's gonna notice when you go literally the other direction. But whatever, dude.
Dalinar was supposed to go left, and he went right.
He's real out of it. Chapter 106 is Law is Light, and it's another Seth chapter. And if you notice the arch at the top of the chapter, this one has all four of the same face, and that is Nail from the Herald image with all the 10 heralds. So
Really, it doesn't have his like. Didn't he have like a crescent scar on his cheek or something?
he does. It just may not show up well in this particular
Yeah. Okay.
image of him. But yeah, that's the guy with hood is Nail on the image of the 10 heralds. Hold on, let me see.
Nail is hooded justice. I think Alan Moore's going to sue someone.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah. I'll while I'm thinking about it, I will put that image here. We've looked at it before, but there's the image of all 10. And actually, I never noticed, but when it's oriented like this, at least the 5 women are on top and the 5 men get to be on the bottom.
I think we talked about that before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've looked at it before. But you've got Nail with the hood, and then there's a guy with like an armored helmet, and that's Talon.
Okay.
So this one starts. We're talking about a different unmade now. I find Ba Ado Mishram, who that's a name we've heard before also, I'm pretty sure, to be the most interesting. She's said to have been keen of mind, a high prince among the enemy forces, and their commander during some of the desolations.
I remember the name, but I don't remember where.
Yeah, let me see if I can find where, because I feel like we have seen that, but Ba Ado Mishram. According to this, it's not in this book at all, despite the fact that I'm looking at it when I search for it. So there you
Oh, okay.
maybe it's something about the dashes that don't show up well when you try to
Yeah.
search in Kindle.
Maybe just search for Mishram and see what comes up.
Oh yeah. I tried to search for just Ba, and I was like, that'll probably pop up a lot.
Yeah, nope.
Oh, it was another epigraph back in chapter 80. Ba Auto Mishram has somehow connected with the Parsh people as Odium once did. She provides void light and facilitates forms of power. Our strike team is going to imprison her.
Oh, okay. Well, sounds like that was a bust. I mean, we kind of figured it was, but
Well, actually, when we get to the next epigraph, our last epigraph for the section, it says there's very little information about Ba Auto Mishram in more modern times. I can only assume that she, unlike many of them, returned to damnation or was destroyed during Aharietium. So maybe
that's something.
did work?
Maybe that's the like when the heralds go to damnations, like they take, like, or at least that particular unmade went with them, and now that's fallen apart and Talon's come back, it's like that's why, the Everstorm could be a thing, and like they could start becoming who they were.
Could be.
Like the fused.
That would make sense at least. Yeah, clearly
Talon came back. So did Bardo.
Clearly, not all of the unmade go, because we've seen a bunch of notes about how some of them have been around for a long time, but maybe some of them do. Who knows? So this chapter is a lot of, I mean, it's not that long a chapter, but basically they're flying. There's notes about like Nail has all these, or Nin, as Seth calls him, has all these stockpiles hidden around. Some of them he hasn't visited in like hundreds of years, and he acts like he was just here the other day. And they stop in the country of Marat, which isn't so much like a country as it is a bunch of loosely connected cities with a high prince at their head, though they call him in the local dialect Elder Brother, which I like that as a name for your king or whatever. And they arrive in this city, and clearly there's been fighting here, and Nightblood's like, oh, we missed the fun. And Nail says that the Parshmen came in here, and they fought the people, and they took the rest away as labor, basically.
I like this little note here that Seth is looking at how the place got fucked up, and he's like, "Oh, that tyrant in Tukar did it," and like Nail just ignores it. And it's like, "Yeah, that tyrant in Tukar is actually the guy I went to for help."
He doesn't mention that, does he?
Just like Nail's probably just like, moving on.
So they start talking about what happened here. Nail says, "Was what happened here justice, Seth's son Naturo?" And Seth's like, I mean, no, they're just ordinary people living their lives and they get attacked and murdered. How's that justice? And I was like, no, hold on. That's not a good argument. What if the lord of the city stopped paying his taxes and then that lord forced his people to defend when the higher authorities came? Sometimes it's justified to kill ordinary people. And so it's like, okay, but that's not what happened here, right? You said there was an invading army that did this. And he goes, yeah, this is the fault of invaders. That's true. Seth, you're going to be the first one to swear the oaths of a Skybreaker in a new world, a world where I have failed.
Jeez, martyr complex much?
I worked for thousands of years to prevent another desolation. Ishar warned me of the danger, now that honor is dead, so on and so forth. And then he has his honor blade, one of the 9 that Seth's people had taken care of, but this one disappeared some long time ago, and now they just have 8. Or they had 8 until Seth also got one and left.
Love that. At some point in the history now, it's like, fuck it, I'm taking it back.
Yep. Yoink.
That's my stuff.
And he summons the blade. It's not entirely clear why. And Nightblood's like, hey, you should draw me. Fight him. I think he might be evil. And Seth's like, he's one of the heralds? That's like the least evil thing in the whole world. He's like,
Oh, Seth.
Nightblood. I don't know if Nightblood knows something or feels something, but he's just like, that doesn't bode well for your world.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm better than that sword he has. I can show you. It's not a competition, my man. It's okay.
No, does Nightblood just hate other swords?
Right? That's the impression I'm getting.
Yep.
This sword lets you have, like, an honor blade gives you magical powers, dude. I mean, Nightblood also has...
Nightblood is magical powers.
But still... And there's talk about mercy, and Nail basically thinks mercy is a bad thing. Not bad, he specifies, just chaotic. It's the opposite of order. You're about to choose a third ideal. Most Skybreakers swear themselves to the law and follow it with exactness in whatever land they visit. That's good, but it's only one of your options. There are things you must see and things you must know before you can speak. And Seth's like, hey, can I ask a question? And I like his answer. Law is light and darkness does not serve it. Ask and I will answer. And I don't agree with Nail on a lot of stuff, but I like that phrasing.
Yeah.
It's like a guy who's open to communication.
Yeah, and a guy who's just like not. I feel like he probably does have a lot of secrets, but he's just like, when it comes to the law, things should not be secret. Things should be out in the open.
Mm.
And Seth has to preface it's like, look, I know you're great and ancient and wise and all that, but from my perspective, you don't seem to follow your own rules. You hunted down all these surge binders, ignoring other lawbreakers. You weren't impartial. You were enforcing a specific set of laws to achieve what you wanted to achieve. So are you being sentimental in that? And Nail's like, yeah, in part, but I have some leniency because I'm a fifth ideal Skybreaker, which the fifth ideal is where you become the law. And he summons another shard blade, which is his radiant shard blade. I'm not only a herald, but a Skybreaker of the fifth ideal. I believe I am the only one of the heralds who eventually joined his own order.
Which that's an interesting touch.
Yep.
Like, yeah, Nail is interesting because I feel like he has some principles. Like, they may or may not be misguided, but like he seems dedicated to his principles. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to me because he has these principles, like you said, and he's very dedicated to them. But Lift showed him that he was wrong about what he was doing, and when he sort of accepted that, he was like, okay, I'm going to change. So it's not like dedicated beyond all reason.
Yeah.
Maybe beyond most
like
reason. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's always something when you're like in a position of authority like Nail is. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you have to admit I was wrong, and he's done that. So, yeah, there's like Nail is going down a rabbit hole, and I want to see how far he falls.
Yeah, having admitted that he was wrong, it's still not clear what he's going to do based on that. But maybe we're going to find out.
But like, yeah, he's just like, all right, I'm going to tell you what happened the day the heralds gave up their blades. Holy shit! Someone's just going to fucking someone's just going to do it.
Yeah, that's the end of our chapter. I'm going to tell you what happened that day, the day we sacrificed one of our own to end the cycle of pain and death. So, I said in the intro, I feel like this chapter is kind of a lot of tease because it's just, it sets up and then at the end it's like, okay, I'm about to tell you, and then we move on. Watch us not come back in this entire part to what the hell's going on there.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember offhand. But yeah, our last chapter, the first step, we already went over the epigraph here. But something happened to Bado Mishram. She's not still around. So maybe she went away. Maybe they successfully trapped her in the past. Who knows? But Dalinar is up. He's sober. He gets dressed in some clean clothes. He washes himself, shaves. It seems like he's in a good place. He's got that memory of Gavilar's funeral. Like, it's just so vivid right there. It just came back to him. Is it the Night Watcher doing this stuff? Or like, would that memory have been vivid no matter what? And then he has a brief conversation with the Stormfather. Like, oh, so you're still there. I hurt you. I thought you might leave. And the Stormfather says, this is the lot I have chosen. It is you or oblivion. Which that feels new. And Dalinar says, well, I'm sorry anyway.
But even just like you're still here. And he's just like, where would I go? And I'm like, okay, that phrase carries some weight. What do you mean by that? Do you like, and it's like, it's you or oblivion. So you die if this doesn't pan out? What? Like, once again, Stormfather, you need to be forthcoming with information, buddy, because it sounds like you're going through some shit and no one can help you, not even the one you're bonded to.
I sort of thought it was more like, when Syl and Kaladin, like their bond was real rocky, and it's like, well, that would be, Syl would just kind of revert to effectively being like a Winx friend, really. But maybe for the Stormfather was there before he bonded with Dalinar, but it does sound like there's more at stake there. Like, this has to work or it's done. Or if I'm not bonded with you, you know how they become more aware? Is like the Stormfather becoming more aware? Like just
Yeah.
like any other spring, is his
Like-
journey the same? Like it's that or going back to being mindless? I don't know.
Just back to being a primordial storm.
Hmm.
He definitely seemed to have more like, I don't want to say personality, but like individuality than like Syl as a Windspren did, because he talked to Kaladin in the storm and like gave him a telling off for what's going on with Syl before he bonded
That's
to Dalinar.
right.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't preclude the possibility that you're right, Jaymee, that just because he started at a higher level doesn't mean that he's not also developing into something, and so losing the connection could revert him. Or maybe he means something else. Yeah. And then Dalinar's like, so did you send that dream that I had with Noadon? And the Stormfather's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. And then he finds Taravangian in his study, which we've established he's told Taravangian, you can come hang out at the fireplace here. Although it's not really a fireplace, it's they've had that conversation before about how it's one of those warming gem things. And he's like, hey, Taravangian, what are you doing here? And they're a meeting with all the monarchs today? And Taravangian's like, oh, they said I wasn't needed. And Dalinar's like offended for his friend here. Like, what? They can't do... What? No. They can't just not have you there. Everybody's supposed to be there. Come on. And this is where we get the first kind of indications that Taravangian's age is starting to get to him. He's having trouble walking, and Dalinar's like, can I get you a palanquin? And he's like, no, if I give up the walking, I'll probably deteriorate even faster. I've seen it with people in my hospitals.
Yeah, got to stay in shape.
Yeah, as much as you can. And there's still no news from Kholinar, but the Stormfather pops in to be like, I felt storm blessed in a recent high storm. I don't know what it means, because I can't see him or the others anywhere. And we know that Kaladin made some sort of connection when he touched the weird crystal ball thing as the high storm was happening. So I assume that's what this is referencing.
I like that perpetually grumpy Stormfather calls Kaladin Stormblessed. It's like, I didn't bless him. Why are people saying that?
I thought about it that way, but that's so true, yeah. I mean, he's got Syl, the ancient daughter or whatever. Maybe that's a blessing from the storm, even if it's not the Stormfather's choice.
Yeah, maybe. It's just interesting that Stormfather would even use the name.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah. And so they get up there. Aladar's leading the meeting. They're talking about the strategy of deploying troops in Yakaved. And High Prince Ruthar is here sitting with Iali. This is the other, like, Sadeas had the two guys that were his high princes that were following him. It was Aladar and Ruthar. And Aladar has clearly, as Dac said, switched sides hardcore. Ruthar has not. And there's even a note that this other high prince, Hatham, who is there, long-necked man with light orange eyes. Orange eyes is just a weird color. They really do have all different colors, huh?
I always forget about that until they bring it up. I'm just like, oh right, they have colors beyond the real life colors.
Yeah, there's like violet and just all sorts of. But I love Dalinar's note that he's wearing a short jacket buttoned only at the top. Silly looking, but what did Dalinar know of fashion? It's almost like an Adolin comment where he's paying attention. He's like, that guy's clothes are dumb.
If ever there's a time we needed Adolin to provide the fashion commentary at the crisis meetings, that would be really helpful.
But this actually got my hackles up a little bit, because maybe I was just thinking about Mistborn era 2, but I'm just like, Hatham's wearing a red and gold uniform. Fucking what?
Oh yeah. Interesting point. I hadn't considered that.
Autonomy's here, bitches.
For all we know, this guy might be the most like stylish, fashion forward of the high princes. If Adolin was here, he might be like, that guy's on top of fashion. But Dalinar doesn't know. I like the note though. It's like the man was extremely polite and ran a tight army. So Dalinar's like, I'll respect him, despite his silly outfit. And so Dalinar just kind of strolls in, and he says, like, Aladar goes, "Hey, you're looking better," and he thinks, "Oh crap, how much do they know? I've been drunk out of my mind for a week. How much do they know?" So he goes, "I've spent some time in meditation. I see you've been busy. Tell me about it." That's a hell of an excuse.
Oh boy.
Okay, Dalinar, lie. We all know you're lying. You could have just said, yes, I am feeling better, thank you.
It's true. Yeah. And Aladar, and maybe the rest of them, for all we know, is going to let it go. Like, okay, let's get to business. And Queen Fen's like, no, hold on.
In fairness, I feel like if Queen Fen hadn't said it, Ruthar probably would have.
Oh, fair point. Wouldn't have been as nice about it as Queen Fen, who is she's blunt, but she's
No.
not like mean.
I would say nice with a big asterisk behind it.
Yeah, fair. It's like you ran around Vedinar like a wild man and then locked yourself in your room for a week. And he's like, well, I was excommunicated from the Voron Church right after hearing about my home city's fall. I took it bad. Did you expect me to throw a party? And she goes, I expected you to lead and not sulk. And he thinks I deserve that. And then he tells her, like, you're right.
That line to me was just like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
It is a very mom thing. It's like, I expect you to lead, not sulk.
Yeah. Use your words, Dalinar.
But yeah,
I'm not a mad queen. I'm just a disappointed queen.
But he says, no, you're right, and I'm sorry. And she's like, okay. Like, she doesn't pursue it any further. They start going over the deployment of troops. And Navani shows up. And she's like, hey, it's good to see you up. And he's like, you're more patient than I deserve. You should have dumped me out of bed and poured wine on my head. And she's like, nah, I had a feeling you'd push through. And he warns her, like, I have for now. But in the past, even a few days or weeks of sobriety didn't mean much. And she just goes, you're not the man you were back then. Like, she has confidence in him. He, on the other hand, is like, no, I didn't grow beyond that. I just hid that away. Forgot about it. The whole time, he's like, there's something niggling at him. Like, something about this seems wrong, but what is it? And then there's a whole confrontation where Yasna comes in to give something to her mom, and Ayala's like, can I see what that is? And Yasna just goes, no. And
Yasna don't give a fuck.
She so doesn't. Ayala's just like, wait, why are you keeping secrets? Aren't we all supposed to be like a grand, unified whatever? And Yasna goes, I suspect each monarch in this room would prefer to know that their state secrets are allowed to remain their own. This is an alliance, not a wedding.
Like, fair point.
Yeah, and Queen Fen is like, is over here like, yeah, no, that's a good point. And then to appease other people, Yasna's like, this is a scholarly report that has not yet been fully reviewed. We're going to share it with everyone once we know that we've translated stuff correctly. Or would you prefer our scholarship be sloppy? And the Azish are like, yeah, no, you can't have sloppy scholarship. That would be bad. And then Yasna's best line, Ayla, it's good you're here. Sometimes an intelligent dissenting voice tests and proves a theory. I do wish you'd work harder on the intelligent part. And then down our notes, Ayla settled back in her chair, wisely not escalating a verbal battle against Yasna, because you're not going to win. I love Yasna. I want more in her head. Like, Navani's head is great, I agree, but I want more inside of Yasna's head.
Yep. She's the one who we only got like half a chapter, and that's all we'll see.
And then Ruthar starts talking shit, and Dalinar's over here like, you can't win this fight, Ruthar. Yasna has thought more about this than you have by far. It's familiar battleground to her. Oh, and that's where he gets his revelation. They're not going to attack Yaakoved. And everyone's like, but we all agreed that was the thing that made the most sense. And he's like, no. The Alethian Vedans have been fighting over that land for generations. We know it too well. They would get bogged down here and lose all their momentum. This is not where they're attacking. They're going to attack a place hit hardest by the new storm, a place whose military might was severely undermined by it, a place with an oath gate. And that's when Queen Fen gets it. Like, they're coming for her city. And they're going to come by sea. They took most of the Thaylen fleet when they left. And Dalinar's like, but after that storm, like, how many of your ships were even left for them to take? And Fen's like, wait, now that I think about it, that's weird, isn't it? There were a lot of ships left. Like, the winds left them alone somehow. Because the enemy needed them. Oh, shit. So, that's a disturbing thought that... the
storm is still under their control.
Yeah. To that degree that you can be like, don't destroy this storm. And so now they have to scramble. We need ships. We need troops that can fight on ships. But we kind of start making progress. The Vedans lost so many sailors. We actually have more ships than crew right now. Tashik has a navy staffed with Asia's troops. These are guys who have fought on ships before. We can have a battalion of them here quick. And so they start working on this. And as they're leaving, Taravangian, who took a seat by the wall, does not look great. And yet he asks Taravangian, like, are you okay? Don't worry, we're going to protect your country too. And Taravangian, he says, you're a good man, Dalinar Kholin. I did not expect that. And then, like, from Dalinar's perspective, that means something. From our perspective, it means something very different.
Yep, context is important there.
Oh, man. And then Dalinar runs into Kadash, and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, this is real late in coming. I apologize for what happened to you at Rathalis." Which Kadash has no idea he forgot that stuff, so it must seem real weird to him. But something Kadash says makes Dalinar think, who is commanding Odium's troops? He's not going to command them day to day. Is it the Fuse, the Voidspren? Who's in charge? And he asked the Stormfather, do the enemy forces have a king or high prince or head ardent, something other than Odium? And the Stormfather's like, I don't see as much as you seem to think I see. But
again, you could clarify that, buddy.
He says, there is one I have been watching. I can see her when I don't see others. And Dalinar's like, a leader? And he goes, maybe. Men, both human and singer, are strange in what and whom they revere. Why? And Dalinar's like, when's the next high storm? And then we get our Taravangian perspective. He gets like half this chapter almost. He's aching. He can't get around too well, but he's still got business to take care of. And he says, he tells his people, Dalinar Kholin has recovered. This is a big problem. More than you can guess, Taravangian says. And then he wants to know what they have to report. Moloch seems to have settled in the Horneater Peaks. Joshor is on his way there now. We might have access to the death rattles soon. So, sucks to be the Horneaters? I don't know.
Just death rattles.
Yeah.
It's not like they got, like Taravangians, they're bleeding them all out.
Yeah, hopefully Taravangian's not like, hey, we'll set you up a hospital. And, yeah. Also, we found out what happened to Graves. Scavengers found a wrecked wagon, and his span reed was inside. Graves is replaceable. And the shards? Irrelevant. We won't win this through force of arms. And I love the note. It's like, he and Graves had disagreed about Graves thought that Dalinar should be in charge of Alethkar, and they should recruit him, basically. And Taravangian thought that the diagram said that we should kill Dalinar. And Taravangian, who is in charge of the diagram organization, is like, well, I've been wrong about what it said before, so I let him go ahead and try his thing. Maybe it would work. Maybe he was right and I was wrong. But no, didn't work out. But then again, neither did Taravangian's attempts to kill Dalinar, so maybe neither of them had read it right. And we've got Malata here, who she's honestly kind of creepy. Her Spren has been spying. They've got some information about Dalinar's visions that he hasn't shared with anyone else. And Taravangian wants to make sure that her Spren is not having any reservations about opposing the other Radiants. And she's just like, I told you, no. They're all those other ones are stupid. They all assume that we're going to be on the same side. Never mind what the Radiants did to Spark's friends. Never mind that organized devotion to honor is what killed hundreds of Ash Spren in the first place. So I assume her Spren is the one that we saw in Shadesmar that pointed and his finger
Glowy.
Turned into ash or whatever.
The glowy ones, like volcanic lines under the skin or something.
I think those are two different ones now that were
Are they?
the ones that I'm thinking about
Damn.
versus the one that you are. But anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
And Taravangian goes, and Odium? And she says, Spark is game for whatever it takes to get vengeance, and what lets her break stuff. Someone should have warned me how fun this would be. I would have tried way harder to land the job. And she burns in the table or something? Another table bane?
Position was open.
Yeah, it's like she puts her hand on the table and blackness starts etching itself across the wood and you can smell it burning. And when she's done, it says a masterwork of engraving accomplished in moments, and she blows the ash away. The surge of division caused objects to degrade, burn, or turn to dust.
It's a cool skill. I mean, used well, obviously it can be incredibly destructive, as I'm sure most of them can. But yeah, that's really cool. Visually, this looked awesome in my head.
Oh, absolutely. If you could turn stuff to dust, I think her order is the Dustbringers, so maybe that makes sense.
That sounds right, yes.
And he says, Dalinar's recovery convinces me we have to take drastic action. Are the secrets ready? Almost. The scholars in Yakovet have translated the passage we need, and we have the information from a lot of spying. We just need to figure out how to get it out there. I assume without it being traced back to us. And he has suggestions for how to do that. Assign it to Dova. It would have been so much better for Dalinar to have died by an assassin's blade. For now, we must leave him to the enemy's desires, and that will not be as kind as a quick death. And Malata's like, well, is it going to be enough? That old Axhound is tough. And he says, it'll be enough. Dalinar would be the first to tell you that when your opponent is getting back up, you must act quickly to crush his knees. then he will bow and present to you his skull. Which, geez, that's ruthless as hell. Even if he does follow it up with thinking, oh, Dalinar, you poor, poor man. So yeah, hardcore.
Bleak.
And then I don't know if you guys turned one page further, but there's a page from Shallan's sketchbook, which is kind of fun. It shows the glory spren with their round heads, their spherical heads. It shows those anticipation spren with the long tongues and how that looks when they're when they were following Kaladin around.
That is fucking gross.
I know, right? I don't remember what this other one is that it's showing, with like the light over the top of its head at the end of a long tentacle. And then there's like a very crude sketch in the corner that says, drawing is easy.
That was my favorite bit.
And below that, someone's written clearly it isn't.
Yeah. Like, yeah, in two different handwritings. I think the drawing may have been, we saw that, what's her name? Vale was sketching in the sketchbook at some point. So I think Vale made the drawing and said drawing is easy, and then Shallan came back and said clearly it isn't. Oh, these things are so creepy. These spren in the spren realm. Anyway, that's the end of our section.
Also, yeah, but like beneath, if that was Vale's drawing, she's drawn the ghost blood symbol there.
She sure has. I feel like these chapters feel like a lot of setting the stage. To me, at least, I feel like we're putting things in position to move forward and really start to get the ball rolling. But honestly, I don't remember at this point when the Sanderlanche really kicks off. We're only in part 4 still, so you would think it's probably part 5 at some point. But what do you guys think? Where are we going from here? We have, for next time, 3 chapters, 108, 109, and 110. And those are called, 109 is Neshua Kadal. It looks...
hang on. Did you say we start with 108?
Oh, geez, you're right. 108, Honor's Path.
Oh.
109 is Neshua Kadal. I think it's the name of a place or something. So, and then 110, I almost said 1010. 110 is called A Million Stars. What do you guys think? Where are we going? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're definitely, if we're not in the Sanderlanche yet, we're sort of at that gateway to the Sanderlanche. Lots of things, as you said, being set up. I think, I don't know how much of this is I think based on evidence versus I'm really hoping Dalinar's going to be okay this time. I think that he's got Navani. He's got a lot of like direction. He's got purpose to where he needs to be now, and having this eureka moment. I think, yeah. So he's got purpose. He's got direction. I don't see him sliding back down to start drinking again unless the thrill does come back, and that's what he's worried about. What happens if this happens again? And I get that, but I think this eureka moment that he's just had is probably really helpful. It's like, no, I am contributing and I'm doing something right, hopefully, assuming it all goes well, I guess. But, there's still a lot of work to go. But overall, Dalinar's got worries that he's going to slip back. Like, don't put all your eggs in this basket at the moment, because next week I could be a raging drunkard again. I think he's going to be all right, and he's got a bit of an opportunity to redeem himself in his own eyes. Hoping we get there. So I had some thoughts about the last thing we read, and they're gone. I've lost them.
Okay.
I'll figure it out, and we'll talk about it next week. That's fine. In terms of the chapter titles, I'm not really sure. I think what I'd like to see is going back to Kaladin and Co. Getting them to a point where we can get them back would be really nice. Obviously, they left. We left off with them in a pretty dramatic setting, so yeah, I'm keen to catch up with them and see where they're going to. And Taravangian, I don't know. I feel like it's almost going to be more dangerous if he's not around to control things. My fear is that he's so old and frail that he will die, and then maybe you'd have Adritaja and Malata. I'm more worried about Malata going rogue at this point, without Taravangian to sort of rein everything in. Not that I think Taravangian wants the good stuff to happen. I just think in his mind, and probably in reality, there's a little bit more. I feel like there's a little bit more organization and order to it, because he's the guy that came up with it. He had that magical, over intelligent epiphany and wrote this all down, if he's not there to sort of guide it, there's nothing else adding to the diagram, and I think that could get really scary. Not that it's not already scary, it is, and potentially it's scarier because it is organized. But I think if you take him out, it just kind of becomes a wild card situation with all these people involved. Plus, you've got other people who are part of the diagram who are going off doing their thing. I'm assuming Graves was not the only one. Yeah, I don't know. The thought of Taravangian not being there to kind of have an overarching control over that scares the hell out of me.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, even if he's like, I've been wrong before, people in the diagram, you guys can go off and pursue your own things sometimes. He's definitely a stabilizing force, it seems like. So some of these people might be, like you said, especially Malata, who seems kind of chaotic, might be very dangerous without the direction that he provides.
Yeah, and I didn't really get that vibe from Malata before. I'd have to go back and see what Malata was like before. Sorry, I'm nearly done. And see if I got those crazy vibes from her. I don't know. I feel like we didn't know what to make of her, but I don't recall like super spy crazy friend person being.
We haven't had
being
much
there.
interaction with her before. I think Kaladin had like a conversation with her. That's the only one I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay.
Didn't Shallan have a chat? Shallan had a chat with her in one of the big, High Prince meetings or something.
Oh, was it Shallan? Maybe it was Shallan and not Kaladin. Maybe that's the conversation I'm thinking of.
And Patton was just like, ugh.
Oh yeah, Patton's like they'll Spren like to break things, which
that's right. Yeah.
But other than that, the one thing I latched onto in your predictions was you've had an interest. I think most prediction segments since they got there, you're like, how we're going to get our people back from Shadesmar, right? And now we don't even know where they're going. They're on a honor Spren ship going somewhere. I don't know if we know where they're going in Shadesmar or where the equivalent of that is in the real world. So they're just going somewhere. So it's hard to predict how they might get back, given that we don't even know where they're going. But yeah, they got to come back at some point, right?
Yeah, they've got to. And I think I'd said last time, I thought that Yasna might be the way that they do that.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the Stormfather has some idea, Dalinar's calling it hope, but, it checks out. We know they're alive. So, yeah, Stormfather's sensing something. And I don't think Stormfather would just be like, the vibe of the thing, All it would take now is for some people to have some conversations to get Yasna on board. But yeah, it's hard to plan for anything when there's literally no plan. Everything just got thrown out. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Absolute chaos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm still not really sure where we're going at this point. All right, so there's going to be a battle in Thaylen City, but there's still, I still have lingering from last time. Kaladin thinks Dalinar's in danger, and Dalinar's getting a whole range of visions that Stormfather doesn't know jack about. So that says to me the dreams and stuff that Dalinar is getting is coming from someone outside the sphere of Honor's power. So, okay, let's flip this coin. Is this cultivation or odium giving him these visions? I think it's got to be one of the two for it to have escaped Stormfather's notice. So is this odium trying to break Dalinar down, or is this cultivation trying to stealthily punch him back up? I don't know. It's very strange and perplexing to me. I did spend a lot of this week thinking, okay, Dalinar's like, who is in command of the Voidbringer army? Is it Odium or does he have a general? And I spent most of it thinking, like when he says, oh, next storm, like I want to go visit them, and so I've spent most this week going, oh shit, Dalinar's going to drop in on Venli. That's going to be interesting because I think like Venli's really the only person we have on the other side of the conflict who we know anything about really. All of Kaladin's buddies that he traveled with are all dead in the Battle of Kholinar. I guess Moash is still there, but he would not be. Stormfather used the phrase, the people that the sides revere, and whatever else Moash does, the fused do not revere him. So I guess Venli would be the only candidate, especially because Stormfather referred to her as a she. So okay, it's got to be Venli. Up until these epigraphs, and we went through them today. I'm like, oh shit, Bar Ardo Mishram. Like, are we setting up? Oh yeah, Dalinar's going to drop in on Venli, and then it's like, actually, he's going to talk to one of the Unmade, and Odin's going to be like, well, this is a surprise. So, yeah, like, who knows? There, like, that'll be interesting. I feel like we're coming up on the end of this part because we don't have that long left of the book, but we're still in part 4. We'll have interludes, so I don't know if we finish this part like after next week or not, but. All right, so I feel like next storm, Dalinar is going to drop in on either Venli or Bar Ardo Mishram. Either would be interesting, I guess. And then he comes back, and that's when, like, I feel like the end of the part is probably when Taravangian is going to enact his plan to really just drag Dalinar back into the shit. Whatever he does. I feel like that'll be the end of part 4, and then part 5 is Dalinar rising above it anyway, somehow. And whether or not that's a good thing or not, because that might look like an Alethi conquering regardless of circumstance. I don't know. I'm just throwing shit at the wall this week, really.
Yeah, it does seem like this chapter is definitely Taravangian getting ready for the Dalinar takedown at the end there. So
yeah,
if it was down at the end of part 4 and then back up through part 5, that would make sense to me, I guess, just like story-wise. So I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, like the last few chapters of Dalinar really seem to be emphasizing the downward spiral, both in his flashbacks and in his present day stuff. He's like, oh yeah, like I went on a week-long bender and like feeling a bit better, but he says to Navani, it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. So like, this is the moment. Taravangian's like, all right, he's not fully back up yet. We need to kick him now.
I do like that he's that self-aware where he's like, look, I know I'm good today, but there's no telling how long that'll last. But yeah, that's a good point. We've been on a trajectory, and it's not going in a good direction for Dalinar at the moment, especially not with what Taravangian is prepping.
Yeah, maybe this is what Kaladin saw in the painting of like this is the danger Dalinar is in. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't know. And Kaladin saw it when he touched the crystal ball in a weird whatever. But yeah, it was really unclear what the danger to Dalinar was, so it could be.
Yeah.
It could be Kaladin seems to feel it's like a physical danger, but it could totally be a more existential sort of danger.
It involved the 9 shadows, so that suggests unmade. So
true.
Like getting into contact with Bar Ardo Mishram, like that, puts it in the realm of possibility. But it could also be from Taravangian, because Taravangian has been using the death rattles from Molak. He's been tracing the Thrill House. I keep forgetting his name. Like he keeps track of the unmade, is what I mean. So maybe like the specter of the unmade over Dalinar is Taravangian and his influence and his knowledge of them. If you want to get metaphysical or something.
Yeah, I was about to say that's kind of more metaphorical than I would have thought, but that's actually a cool connection that could be. Yeah.
It might just be a load of bullshit that I've inadvertently spun, but I'm just like, I'm looking for whatever links I can find. I'm like, I guess if you squint, you can see it.
I see it. Also, Ner'gul or Ner'gaul is the other name that you were looking for there.
Guarantee you I will forget again, and I'm probably just going to keep calling him Thrill House. I'm sorry.
Fair. No, nickname. It's great. Works for me. Not like we've never had to do that before.
Yep.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's do a couple emails here and we will wrap up. We have a new patron, but we're not going to do that this week because Joe's not here, so we will save that until Joe returns. I also wanted to take right now, for while I'm thinking about it, to let everybody know that with between the convention that I'm going to at the beginning of December and then just holiday stuff, we have decided we're going to do like a 4-week break for the month of December. That I don't mean there's going to be no episodes in the month of December. We're not going to record in the month of December. So there will be a 4-week break. It may not start right at the beginning of December. It depends on how the editing goes. But we're going to take a 4-week break, and then we will come back in the new year and get going strong again. So I wanted to, I'll try to remind everybody, I think we have at least one more episode before that. So just want to start letting people know now, since that is a very long break, that we went ahead and in our discussions decided that we're not going to be able to record much, if at all, that month. So we're gonna take a bit of a break and then come back energized to finish out the book at the beginning of next year. Because after this episode, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes left. So that's almost 2 more months worth of content. So yeah, it'll probably be, I think we talked about, it'll probably be February when we finally wrap up this book. And we started in April of this year with when the first episode went up. So that's going to be a 10-month book. And the next one is 2 episodes more than that one when we go to the next Stormlight book, to Rhythm of War, is 38 episodes. So
Good goddamn.
yeah. Oh, and I've got Wind and Truth on here now too. Let me see what that one is 41 episodes. So
even longer?
Yeah, that one may be, given that, we occasionally take breaks for one reason or another, that one may actually be more than a year of straight.
Whew.
Yeah.
Lordy.
Yeah, I know. These Stormlight books, man. But that's the last Stormlight book for a while.
I mean, at the speed with which he writes.
No, he said there's going to be like a 5-year or more gap. Hold on. It's going to be 3 years until the next 3 Mistborn books start coming out. And then, it's supposed to be like a 5-year gap before the next Stormlight book. So we might just have finished the Stormlight books when the next one's starting to get worked on,
Oh my god, what a place that would be.
Oh, gosh.
I've just looked it up. We started Way of Kings in October 2023, so it's been 2 years of Stormlight, and we're still only in the 3rd book.
Yeah, 2 years, almost finished with 3 books. Then there's another novella between this one and the next one. So
Is that Dawn Shard?
Dawn Shard, yeah. And that's when we get to the end of Oathbringer, we will have the option again. If you guys are tired of Stormlight, we can spend a couple months doing something else, but we'll get there. Emails. We're gonna do a couple of those and then we'll wrap. So, first one says from a humble listener, and the title is Dec's Monologue, like DECK. I assume we're talking about Dac's Monologue. Hello, DJs. Hope you're having a wonderful time reading Oathbringer. I know Dac had, I'm certain, talking about Elhokar's encounter with Moash, also compulsory fuck Moash. But all fun aside, this is what I really enjoy in fantasy, and in extension stories in general, how they connect to us to a character's motivations. I've been thinking about sending an email for a while, and listening to Dac's monologue in the episode where Elhokar dies finally made me decide to do it. I just want to say that I really appreciate how each of you bring a unique perspective, thoughts, and predictions, and how awfully close the predictions get sometimes, even without much evidence. Also, you people have got me reading the Dresden Files as well now. I'm 4 books deep and fully hooked, so thanks for that.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Love hearing that people are reading the Dresden Files. I just started watching some YouTube videos that somebody is starting to barrel through the Dresden Files and reviewing each book, and that's always fun to see somebody just immediately get hooked. There's a question in here that's just for me. When are you telling them about the basics of realmatic theory and investiture? I feel like we've already hit on most of the basics of realmatic theory and investiture. Like, realmatic theory is stuff like the 3 realms, and we've talked about that through the books as it's come up.
Yeah, I think that was, like, we kind of had to for Secret History in that regard.
Yeah, Secret History was definitely the beginning, and then they hit on it in, I think the first time that, if you go chronologically through Brandon's works, I think Emperor's Soul is the first time somebody comes out and just says, like, there's the 3 realms, and here's what they are. So we touched on that, and we've also touched on the basics of investiture as far as we know them at this point, which is, it's a complicated thing. We've seen the different kinds of investiture on different planets. We've seen the unkeyed door or whatever in Mistborn Era 2. There's all sorts of investiture. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get into more specifics than that as it comes up in the books. Here's one idea I had. Also, it would be awesome if Data found some old theories on the internet which were crafted around the time of Oathbringer without further knowledge or spoilers, and ask what the other 3 thought about it. You can do a special theory reaction crafting sort of episode after the book as well. It would give Dac, Joe, and Jaymee a feel for what being part of the community was, without spoilers, and more chances for predictions as well. Anyway, thanks for my comfort podcast, and keep going. From a humble listener, Wasing to the time of next. Colo. Haha, I'm still. That's an interesting idea.
Everyone forgets the PS Vasher.
That may have been in there. I might have skipped it as I was trying to get through the email. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay.
Now I gotta look. Nope, yeah, they didn't. They had Colo, they had Haha, I'm still, no PS Vasher. That's an interesting idea. I'll have to give that some thought and look and see what kind of theories I would use for that, because I kind of like this conceptually. At the same time, I have brought up some theories to y'all, like, here's what people said at this point. Here's what I was thinking at this point. Here's some questions that Brandon answered at this point, when people were asking these questions without further spoilers. At the same time, it's weird for me to pick out theories and present them to y'all when it's like, I'm biased, even unconsciously, because I know theories are correct or not correct, or, well, sometimes. I guess some haven't been confirmed or denied yet. So I always feel like I may be unconsciously picking things or saying things in a way that is just going to lead you guys more than if I didn't say anything at all. So that's always a concern for me. All right, let's do one more. This one is from Matthew. It's titled Kaladin's Flashbacks. Hey, Sander Lance crew. An interesting thing I heard a while back was that early on in the planning of Stormlight as a whole, Sanderson said he wanted to have 2 Kaladin flashback books, or at least a bunch more flashbacks for him. But it just didn't make sense with how he planned the series. So a few of those didn't make it into the Way of Kings and got cut and put in Oathbringer.
I knew it.
Yeah, right. He's planned Stormlight so meticulously that apparently another book with flashbacks for Cal just didn't fit with his overarching plan. I don't know if Data has said yet, but Brandon does know who each of the 10 flashbacks will focus on. I won't say more because spoilers, but Data can elaborate on that. I believe I've talked about who the first 5 are at this point, right?
You mentioned the first 5.
Yeah.
Specifically because you said, I'm pretty sure you said it was like Eshonai gets the flashbacks in the next book, and you didn't want to bring that up because that would have made us think she survived the end of Words Radiance, which she turned out not to. Yes?
Right. I recall that is how that came up. I am not going to talk about the second 5 yet, but yeah, we talked about the first 5.
Okay.
Well, and we talked about how how this book was going to be Seth's book and called Stones Unhallowed, and then that got moved to the 5th book or whatever. So yeah, we know.
I'd forgotten Seth was the 5th book, but
yeah,
I guess that makes sense. Wind and Truth; those are both things that he's had a big part in.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about. I mean, I have thought about that, but yeah. Anyway, I just reread that book not long ago, so I've had to be careful actually the last couple of weeks since I finished rereading it to be like, things pop into my head to say them, like, no, wait, that happened in book 5. Let's not. even though I just read that, I can't talk about that. Also, I've been editing. I finished editing all of those. The last one should have gone up 2 days ago from when we were recording this. So it's in my head because I was just editing my first read through of it also. So yeah, it's all rattling around in there.
Isn't that crazy when Renarin reverse healed Taravantian and split him in 2? Wait, you guys haven't got to that yet.
That would be hardcore. Yeah. You think Taravangian survives all the way to the 5th book? He's old, apparently.
I don't know. I'm kind of hanging out for the fact that it would just be hilarious if he's gearing up to enact all these plans, has a heart attack because of his age, and then dies, and the rest of the diagram people are just like, oh shit, what the fuck do we do?
I do. I almost said, wouldn't it be funny if he became a cognitive shadow like Kelsier? But Kelsier could do it because he was energized with investiture.
He got punted into the well.
Yeah. Taravangi is not even a radiant. He's not invested at all that we know of, so that probably wouldn't. He would not last long after death, I guess. Unless something weird happened.
Well, so he's got something from the Night Watcher going in his head because
that's true.
What led to it. Who knows if that would play a factor or not?
Yeah,
well, I guess you would if that comes true at this point.
I mean, if that's happened by book 5, then yeah, I might know. But that's a good point. That could count as investiture. We don't know exactly what that means as far as that's concerned. Yeah. We don't know what the Night Watcher does still. We seem to be getting closer to Dalinar's Night Watcher flashback, so maybe we'll find out. Let's see. Personally, I'd love an Edge Dancer style novella that is just the story of Kaladin's life, compiling his Way of Kings flashbacks and his time as a slave, and ending up with him being sold to Tovlakov. I don't think it'd be a very fun book. It'd be a pretty depressing read, but I'm sure there's some way it could work. I don't think it'll happen, but I can hope. Honestly, I don't know that I need more of that, me personally.
Yeah, that's I mean, there would be stuff of interest in there, but it sounds like it'd be a pretty miserable read.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm okay with the bits that Brandon has chose to show us because it doesn't seem like it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, he goes on. I'm interested to hear everyone's thoughts on this. I know opinions on the inclusion of flashbacks vary among the crew. Would you prefer to have flashbacks compiled into a novella or keep them how they are now? Joe's not here. He's the one who particularly isn't a big fan of flashbacks, but
I don't dislike the flashbacks, but they there are times I feel like we probably could have condensed some of them, especially for Kaladin. I felt like a lot of his flashbacks tended just like gave information we kind of got elsewhere, but they are providing valuable context to the story in the book that they are presented, and that's why they're in that specific book. So I don't think excising them and putting them as a novella would really work. You'd lose too much context for what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've really I quite like the flashbacks. I think maybe Kaladin's ones just sort of drew out a little bit, but I think like Shallan's were really interesting. Dalinar's have been really good, and I think as we're building more of a picture of like Roshar generally and what's going on, you can almost pick out things in the flashbacks. You're like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting, and they'll stitch together. I think you get the information when you need it now, whereas it's quite easily like if you had all this information in a novella, it's like, well, are people going to pick up the novels when there's a whole bunch of required reading? It's like what we were talking about with Edge Dancer.
yeah.
Mm.
I definitely agree with you guys that some of it feels like just thrown in there for the sake of it's kind of like when we read Elantris, and you could feel that because he wanted to keep to that alternating between the three perspectives for each chapter, that it felt like, oh well, this Hrathen chapter didn't really give us much. It's just in there because he needed a Hrathen chapter right here. There's some flashbacks that feel like, oh, it was time for another flashback. He didn't want to go too long without a flashback, so this one wasn't that meaningful. But overall, there's enough of them that are really relevant to. They either elucidate something that happened in the chapters right before, where you're like, oh, now that what I just read makes sense, or they highlight something that helps the chapters just after make more sense, often enough that I feel like you wouldn't want to move them out of where they are.
Yeah. And I do feel this book, especially the Dalinar flashbacks, because they've been far more directly tied into the narrative because Dalinar himself is starting to remember them, and so we see them as he remembers them. So it's kind of like we're watching it unfold in his head in real time. So I think that plays into the structure a lot better than the other two did because it's part of that narrative. It's not just, all right, we need a flashback here so you guys have context. It's like, oh no, this is actually happening to him.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's like just in this section, we saw Gavilar's funeral, and in the next chapter, he's dealing with the fact that he's just gotten these memories of Gavilar's funeral back, and what does that mean for him? So yeah, that's true.
It's like we see the holy shit, I just remembered my wife's name. Boom, there's the memory.
Yep. And the end here of the email, unrelated, but did you guys hear that Dragonsteel Nexus will have a ball from the Final Empire time period? I don't know any details, and I can't go myself, but I love the idea of seeing a Scadrian ball with actors playing prominent characters. I'd be interested to see who they choose to play Elend. It'll be hard to find the right guy to portray a man of magnificent balls, to use Vin's words, such as he. Life Before Death from Matthew. I will say that yes, I was aware, because I am going to Dragonsteel Nexus this year. I got a bunch of emails about the World Hopper ball. The price increase was pretty significant over last year. And my wife and I went to the ball last year, and we weren't terribly impressed with the experience. So we decided not to go this year. I'm kind of hopeful that after this year, we'll hear from people who did go that, like, hey, they fixed a lot of those problems that you had with it last year, and then maybe next year we'll reconsider. But it does sound kind of cool. They sent out an announcement that's like, Sazed is going to be there, and Elend is going to be there, and like it does sound cool. It's just we did not have a good enough experience last year to want to pay that much this year. Maybe I should do a special episode of just my experience at the convention afterwards this year. I don't know. We'll have to see. Since we're not doing anything in December, that might be an extra we can put out. We'll have to see. We have a couple more emails, but several of them actually are things we need to save for later in the book. So, but we're starting to whittle down our mailbox. So if you've sent an email and still haven't heard it, we're getting close to it.
Just in time for our break to build us back up.
Yeah, exactly. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon, where starting should be the week before you hear this episode, my reactions to Isles of the Emberdark will start going up. So make sure you check that out if you are interested to hear me reading for the first time and reacting to Isles of the Emberdark, which has been a really fun experience for me so far. I haven't gotten to read much more since we did our last episode record of this. So I think I've done 1 or 2 more episodes. I'm a little over a third of the way through the book, but it's been real fun. This is in competition, I think, with Tress for maybe my favorite of the secret projects.
Damn.
But thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you to our people on the Discord. If you'd like to join the Discord, there's a link at our website, www.thesanderlanch.com. Thank you to everybody who shows up every week and listens to us record these. We appreciate you. Hope you're enjoying. Remember, we're doing 3 chapters for next week. That was chapters 108 through 110. So if you're following along, those are the chapters to read. 3 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo? P.S. Fasher. Crabs at... I was trying to say Crabs at the, which is a mix of those two. Crabs ahoy!
Coronas wide, supernovas die, fractured in the fateful fall of man. Feel the heart raging of a strength unseen. Unity will bring the upper hand. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn.